probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, you can anticipate a bit of a nomenclature change, but it's also a change, if you will, in posture as we move from emergency operations center to recovery operations.
And I want to tell you our interaction with the county regarding testing over the last couple of weeks. It occurred to us as a body that we were not getting the kind of feedback that we needed from the county, nor could we identify who was actually in charge of testing at the county. And it turns out, surprisingly, there wasn't anybody in charge of testing. And I want to emphasize the testing because as our businesses start to reopen in our community, I think most people, just as wearing a mask is important, will want to know that you have tested negative. In other cities, there's a relatively easy way to do this, which is their drive-through testing. I know that Stanford has opened up. However, 3 of us tried to get a test done and had very little luck with that. PAMP is going to open, but that's not a free test and it's not easy access. What can our part be in doing more testing at this end of the county? The county is putting very little into testing in our area. Secondly, I'd like to look at the contact tracing. The county maintains that at this point, they will have a curriculum that we can access. And the last one is to bring up masks again. I don't think there's any question that a mask should be used, but I think we probably need to put some more grit behind that requirement.
It was shared streets. And can you talk a little bit about what streets in particular are up for this?
Thank you for the question. So we're currently looking at doing 3 smaller pilots on Bryant, Park, and Ross. The pilot that we're designing on those 3 streets, what it will look like is it's going to be 3 streets that are not closed. We're not planning any closures. We're just planning to discourage non-local traffic. And so we'll have some signage that currently we're working with Public Works on that will have that at the entrances to some of the streets, signage encouraging local traffic only. We don't want anybody to admonish drivers that go on those streets that might not be local or anything like that. And we also don't want people getting upset if they see a vehicle. We want people to be mindful, pedestrians and bikes, that if they're walking along and they feel the need to keep their physical distance from somebody, that they have enough room to do so, they can enter into the street. They still should look both ways and expect that there might be a motor vehicle there as well. We're hoping that it will end up lowering the volume and the speeds on those streets.
Not a lot of money, but people are really suffering. Businesses are going under all the time right now, every day. I think this could help them stay in business, even if it's just a little bit.
So tonight we're going to go through the fiscal year 21 scenarios, which basically estimate between a $20 and $39 million loss in our major general fund tax revenues. So scenario A, which staff has frankly deemed not feasible, it was a disaster recovery. So more likely we'll be seeing something between our scenario B and C, which is a shelter in place through the spring, followed by an economic recession, or scenario C, which was more pessimistic, assuming a shelter in place through winter, followed by an economic recession. So here are the numbers. This table mirrors the one in the staff report and is really looking at those 2 scenarios for our major taxes. And you'll see the major drivers for the losses are losses in sales tax and TOT.
I would actually have even a bigger loss than this, but I'll be an optimist here and say, let's say it's scenario C. I think in the best case scenarios, we're going to get scenario C. And also sooner we are able to adjust this, the better, because as the vice mayor said, we're going to be burning through half of our reserve by the end of this fiscal year. And that doesn't give us much runway, because when we're out of reserves, we're going to have to make drastic cuts. There's going to be very little time to plan. So I think right now it's most prudent to actually have a realistic scenario, hope for better numbers, try to do what we can to try to get businesses reopening and stuff going again.